What the fuck are you wearing socks and sandals for, man? Come on, I pay you fucking $2.10 an hour. You're driving a goddamn Lexus. Buy some fucking shoes.
And now, CheezWits.
How you all?
All right. How you?
How's that hemorrhoid?
There's no hemorrhoid because I let it go. There's never a hemorrhoid if you let it out of your bunghole. And I let it out of my bunghole, Wally. I did it like a champion.
This has been Tips from Chris.
No, it had nothing to do with the tip, honey.
Okay.
Thank God you didn't hear me fart afterwards.
I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't.
Well, I had a big fart a couple minutes ago, but I hit the talk button. So a big fart.
Got it.
Now here's something.
In a wooden chair, and it would have been. It vibrated, for sure it did.
This is absolutely true. I was voice tracking one of my clients, and I had to fart. And I'm listening to the voice track back, and you could clearly hear what the fuck happened, and I'm coming out of a record. I'm like, here's Hall & Oates for you on B106. Delmarva's greatest hits. I'm like, oh my God. And I fucking left it in there. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, it just makes you relatable to your audience.
It does, but it gives you a reason to listen back to the show because you want to hear. What if they heard that fart?
Yeah. You ever heard a fart through a fucking Optimod, Wally? It's something.
Oh well,
okay.
I have a fart story. When I was working in Virginia, I worked at a legendary urban station. When I was working in Virginia, the station was called WJJS. Oh,
was that J93.5?
It may have turned to FM, but it was FM then AM then FM. When I was there, it was J13.
Jammin' JJS, yeah.
Yeah, it was Jammin' JJS.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out as a pirate station.
Oh, wow.
Eventually became someone bought the rights or whatever happened. But I was doing the morning show. I did middays on that station. I did mornings on the country. I was the ops director of the country station, did mornings. I was the marketing director of both stations and the production director. So I'm doing mornings, and this particular radio station had a FM studio. The middle studio was the news studio, and then the third studio was the AM studio, and you could see there was window between all of it, glass between it. And I did a story about a loud noise, and I put my ass up against. I had to fart bad. I put my ass up against the RE20. And the guy who was reading the news story, Derry, he couldn't quite see me. And I was on my last week there. I was leaving in like 3 days. And when he said,
I guess you knew it by then.
When he talked about the sound ordinance, the noise ordinance that had just been passed, I ripped. He looked at me. He said, "Oh, shit," and fell out of his chair. And we laughed for about 90 seconds. And it could not stop laughing. And it was the kind of laugh that I had a couple of weeks ago with Gail, where just all the breath had escaped my body and I near passed out because I couldn't get any oxygen into my lungs.
Oh, those are the best.
So hard. And it just hurt. My lungs hurt. Everything hurt because I just expelled so much air and tried so hard to breathe again. And I'm telling you, I near passed out. But yeah, I've heard what a good fart sounds like through a RE20 and then into the Optimon and then through my K240.
Oh, that's great.
And it sounds fabulous.
Now, I have not, as far as I know, farted on the air. But I did have a burp the other day that made my dog think we were under attack from another dog. So that was pretty special. Because I have to keep the Tums next to the bed now.
You do?
Yeah, I just keep them next to the bed because when I lay down, I start to get the acid, and so I had taken some Tums, and then what happens is like an hour later, if I get up to go to the bathroom or something, then all of the Tums does its job and all of the gas comes out, and so I got out of bed and it was like this long, low burp that I kind of wish I had recorded because it made me laugh. And as it was finishing up, my dog launched herself out of the bed because she thought it was a dog growling. And then that made me laugh even harder.
Speaking of getting up and I assume going pee in the middle of the night, I don't think anybody gets up to go, well.
Maybe Chris.
Yeah, maybe Chris. He might be the only
crap
guy
in the middle of the night? No,
I take a shit.
Well, no, I crapped on Jenna a few weeks ago. Have I ever peed the bed?
Yeah.
Not recently.
That was the question. Have I ever peed the bed?
3 or 4 times
when I was like
a year,
6.
I piss the bed.
That often?
Probably, yeah, 3 or 4 times a year.
Are you having a dream?
As a kid. But I have this reoccurring dream that I'm in the bathroom taking a piss.
I do that sometimes, and that's when you know you have to pee. If you ever pee in your dream, you got to wake up.
Yeah.
I don't wake up till I'm fucking wet as a motherfucker.
Oh God Almighty!
That's always been a big fear of mine. So if I'm ever laying in bed thinking I'm too tired and I don't want to get up to pee, I have to force myself to do it because otherwise I won't go to sleep because I'm terrified I'm going to pee the bed.
No, I pee the bed, and so what I usually do is I will get up and I'll get a nice new bath towel and I'll put it on the wet spot, change my underwear, jump in the shower, get back in the bed, and then make sure that Jody doesn't get near me.
God Almighty! I'm afraid to fart in bed anymore because I shit the bed a few weeks ago when I was sick, and poor Jenna is sitting here. It's okay, honey. I deal with cow shit all day long. It's okay. Like, oh Christ!
Yeah, there's a big difference between human shit and cow shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I let out a fart a couple days ago, and it was so loud. It was so fucking loud. It was like I can't even make the noise right now because I'll scare both of the cats. But it was one of those ones that was like, it was loud, it was elongated, and it sounded kind of like somebody had shoved a T-shirt inside of a tuba and then played the C note. Okay.
Was there any fecal spray?
No, there's no fecal spray. But do you ever? I'm not going to say this to Jess because women never fart. We know that. So Wally, you fart in bed. Has it ever woken you up?
Oh yes.
Well, so I let this huge fart out. Okay. And literally it's blomp. And I go, who's calling? So I was in some sort of dream, I suppose.
Yeah, I have absolutely farted and woken myself up. I've snored and woken myself up.
Oh, yeah. If I'm laying on my back and I snore, I'll go and it wakes me up.
Yeah, I have definitely done both of those things. But I've recently learned about fecal spray.
Fecal spray?
In bed. Yeah, that apparently when you fart, there is fecal spray. Even if it feels like the dry fart. And I was watching something, I think it was on one of the Good Morning shows. And I was listening to it on Sirius, so it must have been the Today Show, about fecal spray, and that you should do your linens maybe twice a week if you fart a lot in bed.
I can't even imagine fucking Savannah Guthrie talking about fucking blowing out of the ass.
Yeah. You know what? I bet when she farts, it's fucking disgusting because she probably eats a lot of leafy greens.
When Savannah Guthrie farts, it smells like fucking daisies, Wally. Okay? There's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind.
Drinking the fucking naked green machine.
Yeah, you know who
all those fucking.
You want to talk about nasty farts?
Drinks.
Today's show, nasty farts, Al Roker. That's going to be a nasty fucking fart. And all over NBC, going back years, you know who I bet, just by looking at their face, had the smelliest fucking farts on NBC?
Who?
Chris Hansen.
Oh, okay. Look, he's a dirtbag anyway.
Oh, well, so why'd you come over to this house? You know? Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Don't gas me. Don't gas me.
Yeah, Chris Hansen. Now, there's a guy who had a fucking great career going, right? What was his thing? He was
Catch a
Predator.
And then he gets caught boning some chick on his wife. Mm-hmm. He was cheating on his wife and gets caught. What a hypocritical piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up doing something good, but really he was trying to make a fucking living by sensationalizing a fucking horrible crime.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he was a piece. All those fucking my wife likes, a lot of women like those Lifetime shows because Lifetime is it's geared towards women for sure. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those, I married an axe murderer.
Oh,
who's
listen,
this crazy fucking
Snapped,
neighbor.
Dateline 2020,
Right?
Forensic Files. I am all into that.
Yeah, I fucking can't stand any of those shows. For the primary reason is I don't fucking give a shit about anybody else's grief. I just fucking don't care. But I got my own shit. And it doesn't make me feel any better to see somebody else's fucking turmoil.
No, but you've also not been in a situation that could end up like a lot of those situations.
No, you're right.
Those of us who have, or I could say almost every woman I know has been in some way threatened by a man. And I probably would agree. Those shows, for me personally, part of the reason I watch those shows is because it keeps me up to date on the current red flags to watch for, because my ex is going to be on one of those shows. I can almost guarantee he's going to be on one of those shows because that motherfucker will do anything for $1. Yeah. And a lot of times the women who are on those shows, you can hear people going, how could she not know? How did she not know he had a second life? Well, I'm here to tell you, when you're being manipulated expertly, it's easy to not know. And I think that's why a lot of women watch those shows.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, but I just think sometimes it's too. I don't know what I think. I guess it's probably a topic I should not touch because it's really I don't really have any real knowledge of what it's to be a woman.
No, I would think you don't.
No. I mean, I suppose I could transition and try to figure it out, but I don't want to. I'm pretty happy being me. I'm happy to be me. Yeah, I'm okay. I also think that sometimes when you try to put yourself, even though you have empathy, like I have empathy for that, for people who have gone through any tragedy. But I don't think people who have gone through tragedy particularly care about your empathy because you haven't lived it. So they're like, fuck you. And I don't want to be someone to say fuck you to me if I'm trying to say, hey, listen, I don't know what it's like, but I have empathy for it.
I would not say fuck you to anybody who said that to me. I would say fuck you to anybody who said, listen, I've never experienced this, but I think it can't be all that bad. You know what? Fuck you.
Oh, well, I would say fuck you too, because I've experienced shit where people say, oh, how bad could it be?
Yeah.
It's fucking bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would never say fuck you to somebody who just said, I have empathy.
I think some people get so caught up in it, though, Jess. I think some people get so deep caught up into that shit that they don't want to hear nobody else. They don't want to hear nobody. They don't want to hear nobody else's. They don't want to hear anybody else's opinion about their shit.
Maybe
they're just like, fuck off.
Well, I don't know that you would necessarily have a helpful opinion about what I've been through if you haven't been through it. But
no, I probably would.
But there's a difference there's also a difference between having empathy and saying, here's what I think you should do in that situation. Because if you've not been in that situation, you don't know what you would do in that situation.
No, not as a woman, but I've certainly been through situations of distress.
Sure.
That may be helpful, but not all people don't always want to hear that shit.
No. But I think, too, that maybe ties into, like, people who've been to therapy and people who haven't. And, people who...
Chris, have you ever done therapy?
Yeah.
So it was a good experience, I guess.
So I've got... I haven't been to him in a while. The psychiatrist, the one that actually, gives you the pills. I haven't been to him in a while. Perhaps I need to, arguably. But I've got my licensed clinical social worker who I've been seeing since Julie and I were married. So that's got to be 99, 2000, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And this guy has got A's got a thick fucking book on me. And I haven't seen him in about a year because telehealth just isn't for me. I want to go see him in person, and he's not back in the office yet.
I'm with you.
So I have actually just been going to Cheers and talking to Sam Malone and Coach. And, you know, they've been taking care of everything.
Same thing. I fully believe every human being could benefit from therapy.
Well, I mean, certain kinds, yeah. But I mean, every once in a while, you know, it gets a little monotonous. And I remember one time when the licensed clinical social worker said to me, well, how does it make you feel? Well, blah, 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 blah. And that makes you feel how? Michael, ask me how that makes me feel again, and I'm going to hit you. Okay?
I think the really good thing about any therapy that anybody goes to is that whether or not you do it long term or not, that's your thing. It teaches you how to access therapy in other ways. Just through exercise and conversation with friends too. And
just to like feel your feelings. Like everybody tries so hard not to do that, including me. I had mine surgically removed, but that's also what causes problems. It's what causes so many problems is not feeling your feelings.
It's like so much other education in life. Once you learn how to access shit, whether it's psychological, whether it's therapy, whether it's how to fucking be an electrician, once you access the education or a little bit of the knowledge to direct you, I think that it creates a whole fucking beautiful world for you to be able to exercise your own way of accessing whatever it is you need to access, whether it's therapy, whether it's fucking cooking, all of it. Just all of it, how to relax, all that shit. Even how to be a parent.
It really did not work for me. Okay. Even though I've continued to see him, because, you know, I guess I want to just unload to an impartial third party sometimes.
You need a different therapist.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the cynic part of me, okay? You know, that I'll sit there and it's like, I want to talk to somebody about something, but I want to talk to somebody who gives a flying fuck and isn't paid $2.10 an hour. Okay. And, you know, I don't have that. So I go to Michael for $2.10 an hour, which, by the way, what the fuck is a psychiatrist fucking jipping you out of 10 minutes out of an hour? For $210, you only get 50 minutes. And God, now that I said jip, the Roma community is going to come and get me now. But I mean, what the fuck? You know, I want to talk to somebody again. Yeah, I have Michael.
I had a woman.
Would sit there. Michael sits there. And the thing that really disturbs me about Michael is, God, man, and I don't know why the fuck I've never changed anything, but this cocksucker sitting there, you know, in his corduroy pants, a pair of socks, and sandals. What the fuck are you wearing socks and sandals for, man? Come on, I pay you fucking $2.10 an hour. You're driving a goddamn Lexus. Buy some fucking shoes, okay?
Yeah. You know what that's like for me? That's sort of like going to church and the priest who gets up on who gets at the pulpit and talks about you don't need to have stuff in your life. You got to get rid of the stuff, all the possessions and those things. Then leaves the church and jumps in his brand new Cadillac and goes to his big fucking house that's paid for by the church. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Right.
You drive a better car than anybody who goes to the fucking church, and you live in a better house.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off. Just man or woman, or both. For your
my therapist?
Your therapist.
She's a woman.
Yeah, I had a woman. I've had a man too, but I found best results from a woman.
I got lucky because I had no intention of going to a therapist, and somebody recommended this podcast, and the person who does the podcast is a therapist, and she was the things that she was talking about, it was like she was talking directly to me, and I was like, oh, I wonder if she's taking new clients, and she happens to be here in Nashville, so I reached out to her and ended up she was perfect for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to change the gender of your therapist, Chris.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should actually go back and see him at some point to reevaluate.
And at my community health center where I live, there's a therapy person, and it is free.
Oh, that's nice.
There's no cost for the therapy, and it's like 30 minutes. And I haven't been in a long time now, just because it's when you're very open to it, it's very successful, right?
Yeah.
Once you figure out how to be open to it, it's hugely successful.
And that's my problem. I have not figured out how to be open to it, because I'm just, I think we've all learned on this program that I'm a cynical cocksucker.
What?
Okay.
No.
And, listen, and when my brother died, it got worse back in, when did he die? Late June. And you have all these stages of anger, denial, acceptance. I'm still pretty fucking pissed.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I don't know when I'm going to get beyond that. And I don't know whether talking to somebody is going to get me beyond that.
So I
really
don't. Death a lot lately as I getting older. So I'm 6 weeks away from whatever I am, 60. And so I think more and more death. I'm thinking more about end of life and those kinds of things. Because, listen, I've got 20 more years, hopefully good years. I hope I have 18 more good years. I hope I get close to 80 and I'm still able to feed myself, able to wipe my own ass. I hope I'm able to get there, right?
Right.
But the thing about death, I'm not afraid of the dying part or anything. I'm fucking pissed that I have to die. I'm angry about having to die because I'm fucking angry about everything I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss, my next set of grandkids. I'm going to miss the people of my life who I care about, you guys, my family, my dog, all of that. The stuff I'm going to miss out on like a nosy motherfucker. I don't want to miss out on that shit. I realize I'm going to get sick and all that, but it pisses me off that I have to die. So someone better fucking figure out this making me live forever thing quick.
And it doesn't piss me off that I'm going to die. Not at all. Because you know what? Look, I'm 47. And you know what? Listen, I've lived a good life. I've been married twice. Yeah, did I fuck him up? Okay, whatever. But, I've achieved a lot in life. I've done the career that I've wanted to do. I've made money. I've lost money. I've owned radio stations. I've owned bowling alleys. I've seen the good. I've seen the bad. If I died tomorrow, I'd be okay because I've done it all. I've done everything I want to do. Do I want to live longer? Absolutely. Am I going to kill myself? Yeah. Absolutely not. My psychiatrist or whoever else says, are you feeling thoughts of that you want to, commit suicide? And I say 3 things I tell you that I tell everybody. I hate pain. I hate blood. And I don't like disappointing people. Does that answer your question? Okay. But if it happened tomorrow, it would be okay. I'm not afraid of it. What I am afraid of is the long going down the slide.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah.
That's the shit that pisses me off.
Look, my brother was lucky, okay, because the lights just turned off.
Yeah.
Okay. That was it. I don't want to go through cancer, losing a limb, diabetes, any of this bullshit, heart attack. Gee, if I have a heart attack, just fucking kick the plug out of the wall if you like me. Okay, right. Just fucking let it go.
The prize for living through all of the bullshit that we have lived through, the prize for that is your eyesight goes away, your hearing goes away, your heart stops working that well, your body starts to fall apart. That's the prize.
And I've got my parents, okay? They're 80.
Out of a straw, all that shit. I don't want any of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Parents are 81. Okay. And my mother, she's had her heart attack, so she didn't give a fuck anymore. She's supposed to have the pacemaker replaced next year. And she says, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. If it's my time, it's my time. Okay. My father, the most brilliant legal mind I've ever seen. And he's just so bright in everything. And he's still bright, but I'm watching him physically deteriorate.
Yeah.
And just moving around so slow. And he said something to me about, it was after my brother died. I guess mortality hit him a little bit at that point. And he began the sentence with, as your mother and I are ending our usable lives. Oh. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Does that mean I'm going to be cleaning up your shit? I mean, come on, the ending of our usable lives. It's like, and you look at it that way and it's like, motherfuck, just get me to the goddamn finish line. I mean, just get me there, push me over, turn off the lights. If you're kind to me, drive me to Ocean City, take me out to the ocean and let me fucking walk in. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to deal with all the bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't, it really does. Dying fucking pisses me off. It pisses me off. It just angers the fuck out of me. And not because, much like Chris, and I think probably like you too, Jess, I have spent very little time in my life not taking chances. I take chances. Mm-hmm. I've experienced most things. I've always, or I have consistently put myself in a position not to say, I wish I would have. I did. I just did. I wanted to act. I went to California and I spent a year being an extra and did a bunch of shit. And I did community theater back here. I wanted radio. I did radio. I have spent very little time not trying to do what I want to do. I wanted to see the country. I've been in almost every fucking state, the contiguous states, by driving from coast to coast to coast to coast to coast to coast, just doing it. So I have not put myself in that position of saying, I wish I would have, because I never wanted to be 60 and say, I wonder if I had have done this, I could have accomplished that. I accomplished the things I wanted to accomplish. Mm. I mean, are there other things I'd like to accomplish? Sure. And I will work towards them, but nothing grand anymore. The big things I've done, and I don't call it a fucking bucket list. There was no such thing. I have a bucket list when I was, 16 years old, figuring out whether I wanted to smoke pot or not, or whether or not I wanted to be a fucking alcoholic, or if I wanted to be a fucking, heroin user. And those are all choices we have, even though they're negative choices for some people. Those are all choices. Those are all experiences that you make a decision. I want to try heroin, or I want to do this, or I want to try to act. They're choices. A lot of them are choices. I realize some of them are illnesses too. Alcoholism becomes an illness. Sometimes it's hereditary. I understand those things, but I just never want to be in a position to say, I wish I would have. And I haven't. Right. I think Chris is just listening to Chris talking. He has made sure he's done the things he's wanted to do. Jess, I know exactly right. You've done the things you wanted to do. You've put yourself out there, mm-hmm. and you've given it a fucking go.
I would say there are probably some things I wish I didn't take so long to get to.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Well, I would agree with that, and I'm sitting here, and I was talking about, this fucking radio station that I bought from Pat Sajak about a year ago. And, I bought it and I wanted to grow it. And WNAV in Annapolis. I bought it from Sajak for $1,000. Okay. And let me tell you, it was not a bargain. Okay. And I know it totally took 10 years off my life. There's no doubt about it. And I got into it. I'm like, God, this is fucking terrible. And when I was thinking about getting rid of it, I couldn't decide. When my brother died, I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. There's more to life. And I'm still trying to get it out of my hands, but somebody else has purchased most of the stock at this point. And I talked to my dad about it. I was boo-hooing and tearing up and shit. And I'm like, God, what the fuck did I do? What a goddamn mistake this was. And my dad looked at me and he said, you should be glad you did it, because otherwise you were going to say, man, what if I bought that station from that fucking Wheel of Fortune guy? What if I didn't buy it? I should have bought that thing. And now I went through and I know it was a mistake, and I know I'll never buy another fucking radio station again. I mean, that's for goddamn sure. And, my dad is always my sounding board on things, and anything important in life. Like I remember in 2005 when I left I divorced that bitch and then went down to Fayetteville, North Carolina, and took a programming job down there. I was hemming and hawing, and I didn't know what to do. And I took the job, obviously, and I'm driving down the road in my 1998 Chrysler Sebring convertible.
Ooh.
And I was talking to my father on the phone, which you could still hold up to your ear at that point. And I said, Dad, I don't know whether this is the right idea. He said, son, you never know. You never know whether it's right or wrong. You're following your dreams. This is the only time in your life you're going to be upwardly mobile to be able to do something like this. And listen, either way, your mother and I love you. And then he paused and said, honestly, I don't know about your mother, but I love you. And so,
yeah, but that's the kind of support. So that's the kind of support I didn't have. Jess, I know that's the kind of support you didn't have. That wasn't readily available.
I will say, when I left upstate New York for my first job away, it was a job in Texas that I found on the internet, which in 1997, I think it was, 96 or 97, you weren't finding jobs on the internet moving across the country yet. No. So that was a huge chance that I took. And I will say that my mother said, if it doesn't work out, you can come home, because I was terrified to move that far away from anybody I knew for a job I wasn't entirely convinced was going to be there when I got there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a semblance of that support.
I've almost never applied for a job except my first job. And after that, the rest of my jobs were meeting somebody and then a connection here, there. Mm-hmm. I almost never had to apply for a gig. Now, I did apply for a couple and found a few online. One was in Texas that I turned down. One was in Georgia I turned down. One was in Virginia Beach I turned down. And the rest of them were all by, hey, we heard you might be looking.
Networking.
You want to come talk to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of it was networking.
The job I got in Maryland, I got because I puked all over myself in the middle of a bar.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you didn't know that?
You puked?
No.
I puked all over myself and got a job.
What happened?
Well, let Wally finish his story first.
No, did you say puke or piss?
No, there was puke.
I said puke.
It was puke.
Yeah.
Because you froze up on this side. I didn't know whether you said puke or piss, and I was kind of intrigued by both.
Pretty sure I didn't.
But I was wondering how someone would stand there and just piss at the bar, just stand there pissing.
I mean, it could have happened, but I'm pretty sure that it didn't.
So that was it. All I was saying was almost all of my jobs were by networking, mm-hmm. which ironically is, I am a fucking horrible networker in this age of technology where networking is supposed to be easy. I'm terrible at it. And I'm terrible at it because I'm exactly what Chris talked about earlier. I need to fucking be face to face with somebody. Mm. I am best in that forum where you're face to face, because I communicate much better in a face to face oratory than I do typing back and forth, because I can hear too much in texting and typing and emailing. I hear too much of the inflexes. Oh, I lost the word, but what it sounds like people are saying, how they're saying it.
Inflection?
I hear it. Inflection. That's what I want. I was saying I couldn't get past influx. Inflection. I hear too much of that, and I create too much of my own inflection and what I think and how they're saying it, like saying "fuck you." Are they saying "fuck you" or "fuck you" or "fuck you"? How are they saying it? How do they mean it? So I work much better this way. So I network much better in person, but it's a fucking dying art. It's not even a dying art. It's dead. It's fucking dead. That's why we'll get back to your puking in just a half a second, but that's why this works. What we're doing works.
Yeah.
Because you hear what we're saying, and you know what we're saying, you know where our inflections are, you know what we mean. You're not having to guess where the fuck we're coming from or where we're going. Jess, tell us about puking.
So I was at a station in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and I was not happy there anymore. I was ready to go. And although I have some great friends who live there still, like it was one of the markets where the friends I made there will be my friends for the rest of my life. But I was not happy at the station anymore. And the record reps that I talked to every week, some of them I was close enough with to just sort of share with them what I was going through at the station. So I had gone to a showcase from Wilkes-Barre. I had gone to a showcase in Baltimore, and it was for a band called the Roadhammers. They're a band out of Canada. And back then, before I broke up with the brown liquor, my drink of choice was Jack and Diet. And the Roadhammers created a shot for this evening that they were going to be playing some music at this bar. They created a shot called the Jack Hammer. And I don't remember what was in it beside Jack, but they created it and said, we need somebody to try this and see if it's any good. And I raised my hand immediately and I was like, I'll do it. And it was delicious. And so every time somebody bought a round of Jack Hammer shots, they would hand me one and I would drink it because it's rude not to. I'm also still sucking down Jack and Diet like it's my job, because back then I believed if the alcohol was free, you had to drink all of it. And absolutely. So I'm sucking down Jack and Diets. I don't know how many of these jackhammer shots I've done, but 6 or 7 is not an exaggeration. And then as the night goes on, the waitresses start coming around with the trays of tube shots that are like those sugary, whatever they are. And every time they came around, somebody would buy a round and they would hand me one and I would drink it because it's rude not to. And so however many shots and Jack and Diets I'd had, it was one of those tube shots that got me. And I threw my head back to drink it, and I didn't even feel it coming up. Like, I threw my head back, and as I came back down, I puked down the front of myself.
Nice.
And I remember thinking, because I have literally, until that moment, never puked in front of people before. I was always able to get outside or to a bathroom or whatever. So in this moment, there's puke all down my front, and I'm thinking, I hope nobody saw that. And then there's like 5 or 6 people with napkins helping me clean myself up.
And the women, I wouldn't have helped you.
The women are taking me into the bathroom to help me get cleaned up, and somebody decides it's time for Jess to go back to the hotel. So the head of the record label is going to drive me back to the hotel in the van that they used, one of the vans that used to shuttle. It doesn't exist anymore. But they had brought a couple of vans to shuttle us all back from the back and forth from the hotel to the bar. So the head of the record label is going to drive me back, but there's somebody else that we're waiting for that wants to go back to the hotel at that point. And so from his driver's seat, he rolls down the passenger window a little bit, and he says, I just want to give you some air. Is that okay? And I try to answer, but I can't because there's more coming, and I whip the door open, and I'm leaning out the side of the van, puking my guts out, going, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he's like, don't be sorry. We've all been there. And I was like, I've never been there. I get back to the hotel. I puke the entire night. Like, I did not sleep. I was on the bathroom floor the entire night. My record rep from that label calls me at 7 a.m. on his way to the airport asking if I'm okay. And I'm like, I'm so humiliated. And he's like, don't be. We've all been there. Yeah. And I was like, I've never been there. Right. And then like 2 hours later, the coordinator from the label calls me to see how I'm doing. And I tell her, I'm feeling a little bit better. I finally stopped puking. And she said, we're all down here in the lobby talking about what happened, and we just all feel so bad for you. And I'm so embarrassed.
I wouldn't have felt bad.
So, I don't know, a month or two later, one of my record reps, not involved with that label, calls me and he says, "Hey, Lisa Allen is hiring. She's got an opening for afternoons and assistant program director, and she thinks you're awesome and wants you to call her." And I said, "Lisa Allen? I don't know who that is." And he said, "Oh, she's at a station in Maryland. She's at, WFRE in Frederick, Maryland." And I was like, "Frederick? Was she at the thing in Baltimore?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "The one where I puked all over myself in front of God and everybody." And he said, "I don't know. She didn't mention it." So I send her my resume. I send a quick email that I don't mention the thing in Baltimore, because if I met her there, I don't remember it.
Jesus Christ.
I hit send. 5 minutes later, RJ Jordan, who you guys both know, I think.
Yeah.
He messages me and says, "Hey, Lisa Allen is hiring for afternoons and she thinks you're awesome. And she just got done telling me this great story about you puking all over yourself in a bar in Baltimore." So not only did she hire me, 3 months later, she got fired and I got her job.
Oh, man. For people who don't know, so I've been to a few Bobby Poe conventions back when those were big deals.
The Bobby Poe.
Drinking, radio, records, and up-and-coming artists is a huge deal at these things.
Absolutely.
I have done so much drinking at these things. As a matter of fact, you guys probably know Charlie Walk, who was at Columbia Records out of Boston for a long time. I think he ended up being the VP of Columbia for a while. And one night at the Bobby Poe, and this was one that was in Virginia in Tyson's Corner, and there was a bar tab. He was holding the bar tab. In 3 hours, his bar tab was $15,000.
I believe it.
I do too.
Hours, $15,000.
Yeah.
And I was sucking on that bar tab too, but there were just the drinking at these things. It may have changed, but I can tell you back in the early 90s, it was fucking so much drinking.
Yeah.
And you'd be drinking with vice presidents and presidents of labels, program directors, artists. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying back then, big artists, not small. Sophie Hawkins, Joshua Caddison, like artists who were already there.
Yeah.
And were either on their first or their sophomore album, and Hootie and the Blow, real people who had made it or were well-known household names, and people were just plowing down fucking drinks.
Yeah.
And it was a big part of the industry back then.
I mean, free alcohol is still there. I just know that for me, that hangover hits different. And
yeah, but I think it's a different culture now, though.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, there are still people that get stupid drunk at those things. I just am no longer one of them.
Yeah. Well, I also think that the relationship between records and radio is a very different relationship than it used to be.
For sure.
It used to be.
Elliot Spitzer did some damage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You remember that whole thing?
Well, I remember he had a prostitute.
Yeah.
Look, one of my friends was Exhibit G.
Oh, really?
For real?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he hit the radio industry hard. And
look at Exhibit G sometime in the filing, and you'll see it.
When he was at the height of that, coming after radio thing, that's when I was still
very good at that thing.
That's when I was still in. I know. That's when I was still in Wilkes-Barre, and we were not allowed to get
Fayetteville still.
We were not allowed to get CDs for free anymore. We were not allowed to let a record label buy us lunch. I mean, it wasn't about getting cars and TVs and shit. It was like, you can't let a record label spend anything on you. And that year, I went to country radio seminar, and my GM warned me before I went down. He said, there will be people there looking, and our whole company was banned from accepting anything from record labels. So he said, don't let anybody buy you drinks.
So here's the truth, Jess, though, right? The truth is it was taken away from local radio, and it became a corporate thing.
For sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
It became corporations padding their. It became iHeart, and it became or Cumulus or whoever, CBS. It became the corporations taking the money directly from the record labels.
Yep.
Correct.
And
creating programs for it.
Take their trips for, hey, we'll take the trip to go see fucking whoever, pick an artist, right? But we'll only take one of those trips and offer it across our entire platform instead of having to do 18 stations.
Right.
And that's part of what's ruined radio was that whole the corporate bullshit.
iHeart had a program where they would take money from the labels and then feature their new artists in all of their stations at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And and back in the day, that used to be a time buy for a radio station.
Mm-hmm.
That's
where
correct.
a radio station would get a buy for a new album. And they'd also maybe get, hey, we're going to be giving away a trip to go see Hootie and the Blowfish in fucking Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm.
Be the 10th caller and get registered. And you fucking did that for 6 weeks during a ratings period. And it fucking helped your station.
Yeah. And then they turned that into every station owned by the company. The listeners from all of the stations in the company are now competing for that one trip.
Yeah, right. And you end up getting this. You end up getting, a station in New York, getting y'all, I'm so happy to win this here prize.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, yeah.
It's not fucking a New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was working for Cumulus, I knew it was all over when they said they had an in-house indie. And I'm like, oh. Yes. Okay.
Oh.
And the in-house indie would then tell me how many times I had to play the Paula Cole record in the middle of the night.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How many? Because I used Jerry Brenner was our indie. There were two different indies I used, and Jerry Brenner was a pretty popular and a good indie back in the day out of Boston. And they looked out for the station. They made sure you got what you needed. They made sure record companies followed through on promised promotions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some of it was the artificial making of stars of big records. Like Four Non Blondes should have never been a fucking huge record.
Correct.
But Interscope paid a lot of money to get Four Non Blondes paid through independent records. And Charles and Eddie. I mean, I'm going back to my era.
Charles and Eddie, artists. Would I Lie to You? Never should have been on the radio. And I remember.
No, it should not
came out of that record one time, and I forgot what station I'm on, and I'm like, Charles and Eddie, would I lie to you? Well, two guys. What the hell do you think? So, and just went on with it. But yeah, that never should have happened. There was a
no, it should have never happened. But that's the way the industry ran. But you played it because you wanted to give your listeners. It wasn't a selfish thing at all. You wanted to give your listeners something they couldn't get somewhere else, or they may not have access to. They didn't have access to go see fucking Britney Spears at fucking, wherever it might be.
Right.
Because it was too expensive to get airfare and all. But you were able to give them that by playing fucking Charles and Eddie or playing something else for 8 weeks and giving it 30 rotations, eventually giving it 30 rotations, but most of those rotations will come in the overnight over the course of the week. I mean, it was all manipulation.
God, Charles and Eddie.
And you did that because
I was thinking about the other ones. Who else did we have that was one of those? That
AWS was one.
Jennifer Page was one. If you remember.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it just it's the shit that never should have happened. Marcy Playground was another one. Yeah.
That was Sex and Candy, right?
That's it.
Come on, I love that song.
Oh, yeah. You loved it because it was pushed on you.
Right.
Well,
okay.
Probably true.
Yeah, because it was fucking played so much. But
I heard something the other day. I don't remember what it was now, but I was like, God, I'm glad I wasn't a programmer back when this song came out because I never would have picked this to be a hit song. What the hell was it?
Oh, there were a lot of songs that weren't hit songs that were made hit songs.
Yeah.
And it was much easier to do it before BDS, before Billboard's BDS system, when it was just R&R and you were just reporting spins or where something was lined up on your on your top 40 sheet.
Yeah.
It was a different industry. But all that being said, in the bastardization of what radio was, it was a way better product.
Absolutely, it was.
It was a way better product.
For sure.
It was a way better
product. Because you weren't programming out of fear back then. That's what they program with now.
Oh, yeah, right. They do. Before it was, you programmed out of fun, but you had the support of records. Yeah. You had the support of Columbia and Imago Records. You know, there's a label that was like a small little tiny label way back when. Interscope, when it was small and just coming. And there was a ton of these smaller labels that brought you stuff. And they gave you things you couldn't get anywhere else or any way else, but it made your fucking station exciting.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't exist anymore. Now you're stuck with people trying to be creative who have no experience being creative. They don't know what to do. They really don't. They're voice trackers who don't fucking have the wherewithal, the experience like somebody like you, Chris, or Jess has, or somebody who has 20 years of solid real radio experience, real life radio experience, instead of just running in and voice tracking 4 hours in 20 minutes.
I'll tell you what, when Country Radio Seminar happens, it's coming up in March. I've been asked to be one of the people who does one of the morning sessions where I air check some people, some DJs. And I'm a little nervous about it because I don't know how many of these people are going to have ever been air checked, because that's not really done that much anymore. And so I'm interested. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. Like, I'm excited to get the opportunity to do it again, but also I'm a little bit nervous because what if it's terrible? And I don't want to be this is all terrible.
I bet you. Well, I think you're going to run into a cultural, but also a generational divide.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the biggest obstacle, is that generational divide. What was and what is.
Mm-hmm.
What was acceptable is so far above what is acceptable today.
I think the basics are what's missing these days anyway. So, you know, keeping your breaks to one subject per break and making it short and sweet and getting out at the first opportunity and talking to one person and not talking to you guys and everybody. You know,
hey, everybody.
Yeah. All of those things. All of those things that nobody told Carson Daly. Because if you ever watch him on The Voice or on the Today Show, and he says, everybody, all the time, give it up for this, everybody.
I don't know if you remember this, Jess, but one of the things I used to ask jocks to do after I'd air check him or something is, one of the things I used to suggest was hang a picture of the person you're talking to in the studio in front of the mic and just talk to that fucking person.
Our late friend Sharon, who trained me at the first station I worked with you at, told me to do that, to hang up pictures of my friends.
That's what I told her to do.
Yeah.
Is that you hang a picture of a person in front of you and talk to that fucking person.
Now, Chris, do you remember Jennifer?
Jennifer.
In the studio at FRE?
Oh, over in the corner?
Yep. I put up a picture. Yeah. I put up a picture of a woman who was about the right age of our target demographic, and I named her Jennifer, and I had a whole backstory on her, and I put her in the studio. And somebody, I think I know who it was, and he's dead now, and I'm not saying it's because he did this, but somebody used to take that picture and turn it around so she was facing the wall. And then when I would get in the studio, I would flip it back around and put a note on it saying, "Don't hide your target audience."
Yeah, I don't think that shit's done anymore.
No, for sure not.
That was a combination between the dead guy and the alive guy.
What, you were doing it too?
No. The alive guy that you don't like.
What alive guy do I not like?
The one that used to do your traffic reports before me.
Oh, I don't dislike him.
I do.
I feel sorry for him because
I dislike that motherfucker.
Do you? We're going to have to talk about why at some point.
Okay.
But we probably should wrap.
Yeah, I think.
But I do want to say we have one more. We have another new rating or another new review.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. This is from Nashville Nerd, so I'm pretty sure I know who this is. Bringing the funny. I literally laugh out loud every week. I talk along with the conversation as well, so maybe not the best to listen to in public, winky face. Lighthearted, stream of consciousness, fun.
I like the part where they talk. It's like when I have a good TV show, I talk to the fucking TV or I like that.
So many of my friends say that when they listen, they are talking to us.
Hey, can I bring up one more thing before we get out of here?
Yeah.
Hold on one sec. You talk to the TV?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
My mother does that. She's watching Dark Shadows the other day. The show hasn't been on in 50 fucking years, and she's sitting there murmuring to herself, Barnabas, don't open that door. What?
I do the same thing, but not with Dark Shadows.
What are you in it? What is she watching at a downtown LA theater?
No, my mother has mastered Pluto TV, and she talks into the remote control and says, turn on Pluto TV, and it'll turn on Pluto TV, except for the one time that I came downstairs and something wasn't working right. You know, it writes out on the screen what you're saying to it. So it says, turn on Pluto TV. This goddamn thing never fucking works right. So,
all right, what I wanted to bring up is I mentioned something to Jess that I was thinking of maybe that maybe we should think about doing a little merch on our website.
Yeah,
maybe some coffee cups or something. What do you think?
Why not?
Okay, I'm thinking that might be something we'll see in the future on our website. Is the ability to maybe buy a coffee cup or a coffee mug or something.
T-shirt.
Mug or cup. What's the difference between a mug and a cup?
I think one is
a cup is a cup and a mug is a mug.
Yeah.
What?
I think a mug is a more substantial, thicker, bigger handle,
I
right?
think a cup is a measurement in ounces, and a mug is bigger.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think, and when I think of cup, I think more of tea, like a teacup, a smaller,
like a teacup,
fragile thing. Okay, all right. See you all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you later.